Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the internet, Jan Michael here. So much has happened since my last Oscars predictions video. We've had the AFI Top 10, we've had the Golden Globe nominations, we've had the Critics' Choice nominations, the Oscar shortlist just came out. There's a lot. And even though we have the full-on Oscar nominees in less than a month's time, I just had to share my thoughts now. I will be doing one more predictions video right before the full nominees are announced, so take these with just a tiny little bit of grain of salt. I do think I have a good understanding of how all the categories are probably going to run, but I still have time to kind of finagle things, especially in the shorts categories. I'm going to start watching those very soon, so there is still time to tweak a lot of my picks. For now though, let's go ahead and dive right on in. These are my Oscar predictions for December of 2024. Got a little notebook this time around, being more official, I guess. Anyways, Best Picture. So I think we've had a good understanding of who the Best Picture players are going to be for a while now. Though granted, I think the order of things has changed drastically, not for everything, but for some, and I'm actually even a little bit hesitant with my 9 and 10. Before that, however, let's get the obvious ones out of the way. I do think as of right now, this is a fight between Anora and The Brutalist. With Wicked, a sort of distant third, I think we could potentially see a fight between the three of them, but more often than not, I do see Anora or The Brutalist going home with the wins within the critic circles. They've been showing up everywhere. They've been winning the most awards, I think, out of any other film, so I do think it's going to be a race between the two of them. Again, at least for now. We'll see what happens with the precursors. Maybe we'll get the clear front runner that is just obviously going to win at the Oscars. But for now, it's exciting just because there is a battle going on. I always like competition. Last year, when you knew Oppenheimer was going to win, it was just like, yeah, there's no tension in the air there. The other ones that I think are going to be strong contenders, though not for Best Picture win, Emilia Perez. I mean, regardless if you hate the film, it is getting in. There is a passion behind it. So I think this may be a situation where the loudest of the groups are the people that just dislike it. I am not the biggest fan of it, but I do enjoy aspects of the film. It's most likely going to get nominated for Best Picture, so when we get to my road to the Oscars, I'll give a full-on review of it then and there. But for now, I do think it's going to be getting in. It's going to get into quite a bit of categories. It's going to win International Feature Film, so it's got that behind its belt. So, yeah, it's going to be a contender. So, despite the hate, it's getting in. Dune Part 2 is going to get into a lot of categories. I don't think it's in the strongest position now, especially now missing director. I made this prediction last month, but I thought now with so many strong directors that Denis Villeneuve was going to get snubbed once again. And then the Golden Globes came around, and sure enough, that happened. So I do think that's going to translate to the Oscars as well. We'll talk a little bit more about it when we get to director, but because of that, I do think Dune slips down just a little bit here. A Conclave, I do think is going to have a ton of nominations, but is it going to go home with any wins? I do think it has one potential win, but I'm not 100% certain it will win. I do think it's got competition in that one category. So this could be an instance of it getting a shit ton of nominations, but going home empty-handed. But just because it's going to get a lot of nominations, I do still have to consider it a somewhat serious threat. I've actually seen some people predict that it is primed to take home Best Picture. Like, they're looking for something else, and I think they're turning to Conclave just because nobody hates Conclave. Everybody likes it. Even if you don't love it, you at least like the film. So, yeah, I wouldn't be angry if that one went home to win, but I don't think it's in the cards right now. The Substance, I think we've had a good shift now where people that were dismissing The Substance are now including it. People that were wanting to include it, that were very hesitant to, are now very happy that they're getting to include it. And this isn't it's going to squeeze into the 10th spot anymore. It's showing up in a lot of places. Granted, AFI Top 10 didn't make it, so that does hurt its chances somewhat, but I do think there's so much passion behind it that at this point in time, I think it would be a surprise if it didn't get it. So I'm quite on board. I do think it has a really good shot. It's definitely not on the outside looking in. I don't think it's in the bottom part of the predictions. So I'm excited. I do think it's worthy of the nomination. And special shout out to the people that are going to all the prediction channels and shouting out "Substance believers rise up." I thought that was really funny. So there's that for you there. Nickel Boys, I do think it's gonna get in. There's always that pretentious film that gets nominated at the Oscars every year, and Nickel Boys just fits the bill there. And even the people that just didn't like it are admiring what the film does, and that's just the very definition of what the pretentious category goes to. You have those films like The Zone of Interest, where there's some people that, yeah, they didn't like it, but they were intrigued enough or respected what the film did enough for it to get nominated, and it went home with a couple of wins. So I think Nickel Boys is on track to maybe take home an award or two. So I do think it's gonna get in. But it's when we get to my 9 and 10 that I'm a little bit more hesitant on. As of right now, I think there's 3 potential picks you can place here. With a distant 4th, I'll talk about the other 2 that are on the outside looking in for my list right now. But first, let's talk about A Complete Unknown. This film didn't get the best reviews, but it's been getting decent reviews. I think it's doing fairly well. But it's been showing up in all of the precursors thus far, and it's seeming likely that this is going to take one of the spots. I mean, at this point in time, I'd be foolish to leave it out, so in it goes. But if it does get in, I think it probably would be the weakest of the Best Picture lineup. And I think the Best Picture lineup is actually one of the strongest Best Picture lineups in quite some time. Even if I didn't love some of these, I at least really liked almost all of these. And I think A Complete Unknown would definitely be on the lower spectrum there. Personally, one of the outsides looking in would be my personal choice, but again, I'll talk about that in a minute. For now, A Complete Unknown I do think is getting in. The one that is really surprising to me is Sing Sing. And missing so hard at the Golden Globes made me think, oh no, now I'm thinking it'll get snubbed at the Oscars, with maybe the exception of leading actor. So that kind of had me worried. And the same is true for my first alternate, which is A Real Pain. Like, A Real Pain I thought was a done deal. It was totally going to get into Best Picture, but it missing at Critics' Choice in quite a bit of categories made me think, oh shit, that film is vulnerable as well. Maybe that is just a screenplay supporting actor nomination film only. And so I was kind of playing with, should I include Sing Sing? Should I include A Real Pain? Because I would love to take out A Complete Unknown and put in A Real Pain instead. That would be a fantastic Best Picture lineup, but again, I can't do that right now. I don't think it's going to be likely that A Complete Unknown misses, unless it just stops showing up from here on out. But I think Sing Sing has the potential to get into more categories. Like, it has the potential to get into Best Picture, lead actor, supporting actor, the screenplay, and potentially original song. While as A Real Pain really only has Best Picture, supporting actor, and the writing. I mean, you can maybe include director, but I really do think that's a long shot. I think Jesse Eisenberg's on the very lower end of the spectrum on the director predictions, so I don't think that's gonna happen. But that's why I included Sing Sing over A Real Pain, just because I think there's a little bit more potential there. But again, not a done deal there. The other alternative that I have is September 5. This has been jump scaring us quite somewhat throughout the precursors thus far. We think it's done, it's not going to get in, and then, oh, nope, here it shows up into the Best Picture respective category at Golden Globes. Oh, there, it's getting an editing nomination. Oh, it's getting a writing nomination. It's winning awards, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, holy shit, is September 5 just going to creep along and take that 10th spot? I'm not so sure as of right now, but it is an alternative, which means I am thinking of the possibility that it could. But for now, I think this is a very possible Best Picture lineup. I may change something by next month's predictions, but right now I'm feeling pretty good about the nominations here. Again, I changed some things myself, but that's just me personally. I do think the Oscars would probably go for these 10 films. But what do you guys think? Director's another category that's just jam-packed with possibilities. There's definitely going to be snubs. I think this year, more than any, we're going to get those articles that are like, this has gotten subbed, these are gotten subs, the top 20 snubs of the Oscars, and there's going to be multiple in each category. So director is definitely looking very competitive. However, going back to what I said about Best Picture, I do think this is a race between Brady Corbett for The Brutalist and Sean Baker for Anora. I have mentioned that if Brady Corbett wins director, I feel Best Picture has to come along with it. I don't think we would get a split. But if Sean won the director, I still think The Brutalist could win Best Picture. I can't see a split in that regard, but I haven't heard anybody else think this way. In fact, they think the opposite, that there can be a split. I have nothing to base my thought. It's just what I feel would happen. And I do think a lot of people are going to side with The Brutalist in terms of the crafts, because Anora really doesn't have that backing it. And in fact, it would be probably a Best Picture winner that has one of the least amount of wins for the night, if you will. So that always makes me hesitant, but it's happened, and it's happened in recent times, so I can't dismiss the thought. For now, based on just what the critics are doing, they are awarding Brady for the directing aspects of the film, but still giving Anora Best Picture. So again, I think just The Brutalist is more of a technical aspect where people like the individual parts of it. They just like Anora overall. But again, we'll see what the precursors bring. Coralie Farge's been showing up everywhere for The Substance, which is fantastic. I would love to see her get in. I do think it's looking more and more likely. I don't think she'll win. I think there's too much passion for the other two, but just getting in itself, definitely well-deserved. I'm glad we're not going to see complete sausage fest again this year for director. We need those female directors in there, so come on, guys. I do think Jacques Audiard is going to give for Emilia Perez. We always get that international director, though I suppose Coralie would count as the international director, but her film's not. So I don't know. I don't know what the what the secret rules are for these sort of things, or what people in the industry think about it. So now I'm leaving Jacques in there. Plus, again, Emilia Perez, just, it's beloved. Even though you don't like it, it's beloved. And then Ramel Ross for Nickel Boys. I think that's going to get in. Just even the people that don't like the film, again, respect what he's done with it. They are praising his directing for doing something so new. Are the Oscars really going to ignore that? I can't see them just denying something that's right there, right in front of them, that is going to give them this kind of cred. But the Oscars are stupid, so you just never know. For now, I do think he's going to get in. But again, if I'm keeping this 5, there are people that are going to get snubs. My alternates as of right now are Edward Berger for Conclave. That film's going to get a shit ton of nominations, but not get into director. That's kind of weird. And so he's right there on the cusp of getting in. And then I have Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2. Again, I just don't think they're going to go for him, just because I think they have other directors they're looking to honor and respect the crafts of a bit more. Which is a shame, because I do think Dune is very respectful in terms of directing, especially. So, I mean, it's a book series that was said to be unfilmable, and Denis managed to film it. That alone shows what a talent this person is. And he's been snubbed so many times before, but Dune came out such a long time ago now. Plus, there's going to be a third one now, so I can see the voters going, well, we can wait till that last one to honor him for it. So I don't know, all the politics aside, I'm sure that's going to be the smear campaign that the other people go for, like, yeah, we don't need to reward him this time. We can wait till the next time, bullshit type deal. John M. Chu, I know some people are like, well, if Wicked's number 3, why wouldn't that be in director? And I'm not dismissing that he could show up. In fact, it wouldn't be a big surprise if he did, but I'm just not feeling as strongly about the directing, for that director, I should say, versus some of the other ones. So we'll see. But again, you got so many options. It's a stacked category. I do think we're going to have some heartbreak in store for us. Mikey Madison bringing it with Best Actress. We've been saying this for a while now, but she is your front runner. Everyone wants to reward her. She's been showing up everywhere. She's been winning a shit ton of critics awards. So yes, anyone who doesn't have her at number 1, or at the very least number 2, I don't know what you're doing. So there's that for you. However, Demi Moore, she's been showing up quite a bit as well. I do think she is your number two. She could be the upset to win, if you will. Not that I would be upset, but I think she has the narrative behind her. I think she's in the film that a lot of people are passionate about, though Honora people are very passionate about that one as well, which is why I think they're on equal playing grounds here. For more on my thoughts on Demi Moore, please go back and check out my Could Demi Moore Win the Oscar video. I really dive deep into my thoughts on why she could win, and if not the win, then definitely a nomination. And if she gets in, I definitely think it's a fight between the two of them. Again, we may see just Mikey kind of start to sweep and take it all, and that's fine. But I do think there will at least be some passionate votes behind Demi. Versus if she doesn't get in, I just think it's Mikey's to lose. I don't think there's anybody else that's going to give her competition. So that's my thought process for right now. I do think Carla Sofia Gascon gets in. Don't think she really has a chance to win anymore. Again, as of right now, but we'll see what happens. She's definitely getting in, though. But number 4, number 5, again, just another stacked category. We have so many people to choose from. And I didn't think I would do this, but I kicked someone out that I didn't think I would. Though there's still a chance to put it back in. We'll talk about that in a second. For now, Cynthia Erivo, is riding that Wicked train. Everybody's on board. Everyone's excited about the film. There's still so much passion. This film, more than any, I just walk down the street and I hear people just talking about it. So it's definitely on everybody's mind. I can see Cynthia getting in just by the passion alone of the film. And then I'm putting Marianne Jean-Baptiste in here. And I wasn't going to, because her missing out the Globes made me think, oh shit, she's vulnerable. Like, with so many spots, you're gonna leave her out? But she did show up at Critics. She's definitely gonna show up at BAFTA. And she's winning a shit ton of the Critics Awards. Now, granted, what does that mean in the long run? Not a lot, but for her to win so much that she's like keeping up with Mikey makes me go, oh, people really like her. So unless she starts, and if she misses another giant precursor, maybe I'll think about moving her out. I mean, she's my number 5. But right now, I just see this passion behind her that I couldn't do it. I had to put her in. At the expense of my alts, which are Angelina Jolie for Maria, which, I mean, I thought this was going to be a done deal, but Maria's just not been performing very well. Not a lot of people are talking about it. So it just kind of makes sense to leave her out, but I hear she's freaking amazing. So it kind of hurts for me to do so. So again, there's still a chance I may switch some things by next month, but I don't know. You can see I'm conflicted. My other alt is Nicole Kidman for Baby Girl. If she had shown up at Critics' Choice, she was definitely going to be in my top 5. She didn't show up there. She's only at Golden Globes as of right now, so I do think she's vulnerable. I think it's a done deal for her. She would also be the lone nomination for that film, so yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling so confident about that. The one that really I'm like, oh, is this a smart move, is Angelina. But again, we'll see. Still got a little bit of time to fully finalize my list. I think actor may be done at this point in time. I mean, the top 4 are definitely getting in. Adrian Brody, Coleman Domingo, Timothy Chalamet, Ray Fiennes. They're in. Like, for one of them to not show up would be a huge surprise. I do really think it's just that fifth spot that's open. And I question it even being open. Daniel Craig's been showing up everywhere. Yes, Queer, not very beloved as a film, but people are praising his performance. So I think it just comes along with the package. Well, not a package. I think he just comes along by himself. So yeah, I could see this just being the 5 that just continues on from here on out. Though I will say, I would be very happy if Hugh Grant managed to take that 5th spot. Him showing up at Critics was a fucking surprise. A fantastic surprise, mind you. I do think it stops there. I mean, we already have the substance horror film kind of breaking in. Is the Academy cool enough to also put Hugh Grant for a horror film in here? I'd be completely down. I would definitely take Daniel out and put him instead. but I just don't think it's gonna happen. If Hugh shows up in one more giant precursor, maybe I'll think about swapping it over, but as of right now, I can't do it. My other alternative is Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice. After that whole actors on actors debacle where nobody wanted to talk to him about Donald Trump, I knew. Fucking cowards, I knew it. Such a shame. So there's that for you. But I do think your top 5 is pretty much everybody's top 5. Again, fingers crossed. Maybe Hugh Grant surprises. That'd be nice. Supporting actress feels like it's shaping up to be this 5 right here. I feel anyway. I mean, Ariana Grande, I think, is just going to be your winner. I think people were trying to figure out who exactly, they wanted to reward in this category, and they were just kind of falling on Zoe Saldana because she's doing something that nobody expected her to do, sing and dance, and she does it very well. So I think people were kind of turning to her, but I didn't think there was a lot of passion behind it. I think they were just kind of vying for her, if you will, because she was like the only real choice. But now that Ariana came out and made this ginormous splash in Wicked, I think people are ready to jump on that train and really honor this performance, especially that type of character in supporting. People love to give the Oscar to those type of performances that ignite a passion you of somewhat, and especially with her being so funny in the film, I do think this is like a done deal. Zoe definitely second place. If she won, I don't think it would be undeserving. It would be a good win, but I just think Ariana's got too much of that momentum going right now, and I do think it's going to carry her all the way to victory. Margaret Qualley, holy shit, she's been showing up everywhere. I definitely think she's your number 3. She's been winning a couple of critics groups as well, so yeah, I love to see it. Love to see Love for the Substance. Felicity Jones for The Brutalist did get snubbed at critics. Critics sometimes do that weird shit, so I'm not too worried about it. Oscars sometimes do that weird shit as much as it makes us angry, so I can't say I'm 100% confident she's getting in, but confident enough that she's at my number 4 at least. And then Isabella Rossellini showing up everywhere. I mean, we were all talking about it. Did she have enough screen time to really get in? It would be deserving, but could you kind of push for that? And the answer apparently is yes. Again, not a done deal. I do think she could still be vulnerable, but I think this would be a very nice 5 lineup right here. With my alts being Daniel Deadwyler for The Piano Lesson. I did see it. I did think she did a really good job, but I don't know. I came away feeling underwhelmed by almost all of it. And even though she did a fantastic job, I don't know, her role, her performance, whatever, didn't stick with me as a lot of people said it stuck with them. Maybe I'm in the minority there, but Till, to me, is still her best performance. So if she didn't get in for Till, I really don't think she's going to get in for The Piano Lesson. So she's on the outside looking in for me anyway. And then Aunjanue Ellis-Taylor, I think so many people were already kind of hesitant to put her in. Again, worthy, but just because the way that the film is shot, maybe her performance just doesn't pack enough of a punch as it could have if it was shot in a more traditional way. Maybe a shame. I haven't seen Nickel Boys yet, so I can't comment on that personally. It's just what I think people might be thinking about that based on what they're saying. So that's why I think she's also on the outside looking in, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm always up for surprises. I do think there is some competition left here, but honestly, right now, this is looking like a pretty good 5. Supporting actor, I think just like supporting actress, may be a done deal, with everyone getting behind Kieran Culkin taking home the win. Though, I do see Guy Pearce right behind him, so who knows, we may still have some competition left here. We'll see what the precursors bring. Yura Borisov with Nora, he's been getting in everywhere, so I think he's sitting very comfortably there at that number 3 spot. But then we get to number 4, number 5, and just like with Best Picture, I think there's 3 people vying for those spots. First, Edward Norton for Complete Unknown, I think is gonna get in. He's been showing up quite a bit, and I think has even won a few of the critics group's prizes. So I feel confident he's going to take that number 4 spot. And if I was to play this smart, I should technically put Denzel at number 5. He has shown up everywhere, but I don't want to think strategically like I do with Best Picture. I want to think more emotionally here because I think Clarence Macklin gives a fantastic performance, a performance that should get nominated. So I can't, in all rights, leave him out. I do think he is worthy of the nomination and he should get in. But I'm leaving Denzel out, and that seems like a really stupid move because Denzel always shows up. People turn to that Roman J. Esquire film as an example of him always showing up. Though, as a side thing, I will say that was the year that I believe James Franco was supposed to get in instead, but then the whole controversy came out, so I think that kind of tanked his chances. And who do you turn to? You turn to Denzel, of course. But even taking that one example out of the equation, he still always shows up, so it still feels stupid to leave him out, but I gotta go with my heart here. Claire's has gotta get in, and I don't see Edward missing, so we'll see. We'll see. My other alternative is Stanley Tucci for Conclave. If Conclave is going to get so many nominations, I have to at least consider Stanley making a surprise appearance, but I just don't think it's as likely as the other two, which is why he's my other alternative. But also something I do want to share, because I've heard some people say, well, he doesn't really have a standout moment. He's not very present. He's kind of underwhelming. And I actually disagree. That scene he has with Ray where he's talking about being in on the fight and being all in, I really like that scene. He's getting angry, he's getting emotional, and I think that would be a great Oscar clip. So if he gets in, I don't think it would be a bad nomination whatsoever. Again, I think it's the less likely of the three, so yeah, it's not gonna happen. But yeah, that's what I got. Regardless, I still am all in on Kieran Culkin, not as 100% as I am with Ariana, but again, still enough for him to be at my number one. All right, the screenplay ones. Original screenplay, it's either going to go to a Nora or it's going to go to a Real Pain. I've been seeing some push and pull right now with the critics. Again, what does that mean in the grand scheme of things? We don't know. We've got to wait for some of those precursors. But I do think it is going to be between these two, just because the writing is just so sharp and funny between those two films that I can see either one going home with the trophy. We will see. I really do think it's a toss-up right now. The Brutalist is definitely getting in. I do think The Substance, with it showing up everywhere, is now going to get in. I didn't think that was going to be the case because The Substance to me is more about showing rather than telling, but people don't seem to mind that. So hey, I'm down. The more nominations for The Substance, the better. And then yes, I'm going to include September 5. Again, we've had enough jump scares that I think leaving it out is kind of foolish as of right now, but we'll see. Maybe I'll change my mind by next month. The alternatives here are Hard Truths and All We Imagine Is Light. Hard Truths is the only real other contender I can think could potentially get in, just because you have the Marianne Jean-Baptiste performance, and I don't see that film just being a lone nomination type of film, but we'll see. I may be wrong there. And then All We Imagine Is Light, just there is that passion behind that film, and I just don't think that's going to get in anywhere because everything else is just so closed up and tight that maybe they'll just they're just going to look to at least give it some sort of honorable mention here in original screenplay. It's not going to win, but it'll show up, and maybe that's enough for some people. For adapted screenplay, this is the one where I say Conclave could potentially take home the win, though I'm not feeling as confident as I once was. I think Nickel Boys could be the spoiler here. And if that's the case, I think that's it. Conclave just goes home with nothing. This is what I mean by I just don't think it's a best picture winner, because you look at every category and there's just something that's always just slightly better, this being its only real chance at victory. And do you go home with best picture with just one other win? It's happened in the past, but not enough for me to feel confident in making that prediction. So that's why I don't think the whole Conclave going home with best picture thing is viable, but who knows? Maybe it just surprises and starts winning everywhere. We'll see. I do still think Sing Sing's going to get in. Dune Part 2, and then Emilia Perez, I think, is going to round it up. I'm just not as confident in those. So my alts here are Wicked and The Room Next Door. Again, just not feeling too confident there. I really do think this between Conclave and Nickel Boys. Maybe Sing Sing steals the victory there, but I mean, with it being on the lower end of the best picture spectrum, I'm not feeling as confident there. Film editing. I don't know what's really gonna win here, because part of me goes, well, Dune Part 2, right? It's part of Best Picture, the editing is very well done. It's definitely gonna get in, right? But then other part of me goes, but Challengers had the best editing, so that's definitely gonna win, right? But it doesn't have a Best Picture nomination, so is that really gonna happen? And then on top of that, I threw in September 5, so am I crazy? Probably. Right now, I do think it's between Dune and Challengers. That's just what I'm feeling here. Critics also seem to agree that it's between these two films, but we'll see what happens. Nora and the Brutalist kind of rounded off. Of course, if I consider those to be your two possibilities for Best Picture, then I gotta include them into film editing. I'd be crazy to do so otherwise. My alternatives here are Emilia Perez and Wicked. Those films that are definitely Best Picture contenders, but probably aren't going to go all the way home with the win. So they're just kind of on the outside looking in. But we'll see. Especially with musicals, you have a lot of cuts and things like that. So I always think that's a great showcase of editing. If it's done well, of course. Cinematography, I have Nickel Boys taking home the win here. Not a done deal, but so many people have talked about the cinematography in the film, how unique it is because of the way the film is shot. So I think it could potentially take home the win. I think of last year with the Zone of Interest in the sound category, where people were saying that would be a very deserving win, but because it's so unique, they're probably not going to go for it. And then it went on to win, so I think we could see a similar trajectory here. Though The Brutalist, I think, is a very close second. So if that one takes home the win, that wouldn't be a surprise. You got to include Dune on there. Nosferatu has been showing up. I've been leaving out of my categories because now I got 3 horror pictures that I'm kind of hoping get into the Oscars. I'm really pushing my luck here. I don't do what I'm doing. And then The Girl with the Needle. I'm sorry, but I'm going to continue including that one just because I feel it's going to show up. It's the one that people are actually starting to talk about it a lot more now. So I don't know. Does everybody watch my video and go like, oh yeah, Girl with the Needle? No, I know that's not true, but it's going to be in there. I don't think that's going to leave just because I feel that's going to be the one that a lot of people miss just because they're dismissing it. My alts here are Emilia Perez and Conclave. I think either one could potentially be a spoiler. I mean, if Nosferatu, they're just not going to go for it since it's horror. You got to include one of those other ones. And then if I'm just wrong about The Girl with the Needle, just swap those two out altogether and put these two in. And that's all I got there. Costume design is going to Wicked. I just don't see that losing at all. I mean, you have a whole fashion line after it. And I don't think it's the same as Barbie last year, where the rumblings towards the closer we got to the ceremony was, is Barbie really a thing? Are we really taking that seriously? And even though I held firm to it, the rumblings were enough that I probably should have paid attention to it, but I do not see that being the case here with Wicked whatsoever. I think it's definitely got this victory in the bag. Dune Part 2, Conclave. I think Conclave, you notice the costumes, you notice the red. That's like so popped out and in your face. I just don't see how that misses. Some people are leaving it out altogether. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I'm going to be shocked if it misses. Nosferatu, they love that gothic type of setting and the costumes that come with it. Again, if nothing else, you gotta at least give it a costume nomination and makeup. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, I mean, I don't, doesn't feel right leaving it out. Gladiator 2, I do still think it's probably going to show up here or there just because these type of films always do. And then my alternatives here are Maria. I had it in costumes last month, but especially if I'm taking Angelina Jolie out, who is the strongest aspect of that film, I'm taking it out of costumes. I don't think Maria's going to get a lone costume nomination. I just don't think that's going to happen. But if I do put Angelina Jolie back in, I'm going to put Maria back in. It's just, I think it's a package deal there. And then my other alternative is Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice, it's a possibility. I think there's stronger picks, in my opinion. So that's what I got for you there. Makeup and hairstyling, The Substance. If this does not take home the win, or doesn't show up for the nomination, I don't know. Just the Oscars are done party. Oscars are done party. Beetlejuice most likely getting in. Nosferatu, I hear especially what they did to hide Bill Skarsgård. Some people even realize it was him at first. So, I mean, those are just the rumblings you hear that make you go, oh yeah, that's definitely got to get nominated. A Different Man, I think, is definitely getting in. I do think Wicked is getting in. There were so many people that were just like, no, it's not going to get in. But just because somebody's dressed in green, they're going to get in. That is like your front and center thing, but there's other makeup in the film. But regardless, Wicked's just so popular right now that I think it's just going to get in on that. Alternatives, Dune Part 2. I mean, kind of weird to have that out, but yeah, it's on the outside looking in for me right now. And then Emilia Perez. And that's really all I got there. For production design, I do think this is the brutalist to lose. It's about architecture. How do you not give it the win? It's kind of what I say about costumes. When your film is about costumes, how do you not give it the win? So yeah, there's that for you. Wicked, definitely close second. Yes, I'm throwing in Nosferatu again. Come on, just look at the trailer. Again, maybe I'm putting too much hope in the Oscars doing this, but I'm gonna do it. God damn it. I gotta have some fun with these predictions. Dune Part 2, Gladiator 2, I think those are all done deals. My alternatives here are Conclave. I know some people do have it in for production design, excuse me. I don't know. To me, it's always the costumes are the things that stuck out the most. And not that it has bad production design. Very beautiful cinematography in the film. To me, the costumes are the things that stuck out the most. So that's why I've always been kind of iffy on that one there. And then, yeah, I just don't know what else to throw on here. Probably Emilia Perez, but I'm not too confident in that one just yet. Animated feature. This is our 5. This is our 5. What else are we really going to talk about here? Yes, I did take out the Lord of the Rings one. As I said I would once it proved that it wasn't going to be a contender. And yeah, those reviews have not been good. So I got to take it out. But again, it was a pipe dream to begin with. But this is your 5. I mean, even the Critics' Choice that had 6 spots said, nah, fuck, we don't need a 6th one, just these 5. So what else? I guess I'll do alternatives, even though I don't feel I should, just to stay consistent. Transformers 1, and then Piece by Piece. That's all. I'm not confident in those whatsoever, but I threw them in there just for you guys. So I'm actually quite proud of myself with how I did with the animated shorts category. Throughout my months of doing predictions, I threw out shorts that I've been hearing about, that have been winning awards, that are possible contenders, just to see if anything would stick. And ultimately, now that we have the short list, there were 6 that I've talked about throughout my time doing those predictions that actually are in the final selections. So I'm going to include those. Those are Beautiful Men, which I've had since the beginning. I think I'm just going to leave that at my number 1 from here on out. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about that. Perseus, Wander to Wonder, Au revoir mon monde, Origami, and then my alternate here is In the Shadow of the Cypress. Those are the 6. Are all of them gonna get in? Well, obviously not, because there's only 5 spots, but are 5 of those 6 gonna get in? Who knows? I'm gonna start watching them very soon, so by the time we get to next month, I'll definitely have a more solid list of what I think is truly gonna get in. So who knows? Maybe none of them. Like, I just not a fan of any of them, but we'll see. It's always hard to find some of these shorts, so but I do want to give them their due. My second alternative, just based on title alone, I haven't read the synopsis to it, but I'm just going to throw in Yuck. That's the title that stuck out to me. So there you have it. Documentary feature film, No Other Land, Sugarcane, Daughters, Dahomey. I think these are the ones that everyone's been talking about. I'm so glad The Remarkable Life of Evelyn made it in there. I was so scared that we're going to leave it out. But it's in, and because of that, I got to continue with the predictions. This is the one that I know is probably may not get into the final 5, but I'm just, me, gamer. I always want video game representation at the Oscars, so I'm going to include it. My alternatives here are The Black Box Diaries, which I've been hearing some really good things about, and then Union. I've had Union in my predictions for a while now. Nobody's been predicting it. It's not been winning anything. So for it to still show up on the final list, I'm feeling pretty good about myself. If it actually gets to the 5, I'm gonna be upset leaving it out. So who knows? Maybe I'll put it back in. I don't know. I'll think about it. I unfortunately didn't do so well with the documentary short section. Out of all the months that I've been predicting, only 3 of the films that I talked about made it into the final selection, which is yeah, it's a shame, but these are the top three, which is The Only Girl in the Orchestra, Michaela's Voice, A Letter to the World, and I Am Ready, Warden. The other things are just based on title alone. Again, I'm going to go through these very soon, but just to follow suit. Number 4, I put Instruments of a Beating Heart. Once Upon a Time in Ukraine, with my alternates being Chasing Rue and Death by Numbers. Again, that is based on title alone. As I start watching these, of course, I'm going to shift things around, but that's what I have for you for now. International feature film, I'm actually going to take the biggest swings here. First and foremost, the top three are the top three, which are definitely going to get in. Amelia Perez, Seed of Sacred Fig, I'm Still Here, done deals. But 4 and 5 are where I really want to start doing something crazy here. I'm going to keep Kneecap. I know it's not doing amazing, but I feel there's going to be enough passion that it's going to show up. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. And for my number 5, International has done something crazy the last couple of years, and that is that they introduce a film that nobody saw coming. Like, nobody thought that this was going to get in, and it surprises. I mean, go back to the last 3 years, and you'll notice there's one each year that's like, what? That got in over this? There's been snubs. So I'm going to follow suit this year. And for that, I'm going to put How to Make Millions Before Grandma Dies. It just seems like that film that kind of is on the outside looking in. Nobody's really taking it too seriously as a contender. And then bam, it just shows up. Or maybe it's something else entirely. So I don't know. But my alternatives, of course, are the ones that you probably have on your predictions, which is The Girl with the Needle and Vermiglio. It makes sense to include those two. If you want to do that, by all means. It seems like a pretty solidified 5 if you include those two into the mix and take out Kneecap and How to Make Millions. But again, we've just had those surprises, and so I gotta take a little bit more of a wild swing here just because I don't think we know the full picture of what people are thinking just yet. Original score has been quite interesting, actually. I think Challengers has a very good shot of taking it, and that would be an awesome win. Though The Brutalist also doing very well, and I hear that score is very, very good. I actually can't wait to hear it. Haven't heard anything yet. I'm going to wait till I see the movie. But yeah, I think those are your top 2. With Conclave a distant third, could it pull off an upset? It's been winning some critics groups, so we'll see there. 4 and 5, I'm just kind of throwing in what I've seen, what's most possible. Amelia Perez has been getting in, and some people have even said they've liked the score more than the songs themselves. So I suppose that's saying something. And then The Wild Robot just seems like the type of film that would get in. And again, just because, I don't know, I just don't feel very strongly about anything else. My alternatives here are Wicked and Sing Sing, but they're so distant. Like, everything else on that short list is so distant that I'm not even considering it. These are my 5. I'm just going to be sticking with these ones unless I hear something huge happen within the next month, but we'll see. Original song. This is another one I'm doing a little bit of a swing on just because it's most likely not going to happen, but I do think Mi Camino is going to win. I think out of hearing all of the songs, which, by the way, it's a very underwhelming year for songs. It's not a lot that I really did like. I think Mi Camino is probably the one that is going to win. It's the one that I think is it gives like a positive message. It's very upbeat. It's kind of techno-y at points. I can see people dancing to it, if you will. And I think that's just what's popular now. Kiss the Sky, just because people really love The Wild Robot. I think the song just comes along with it. Forbidden Road, I think people are just looking to nominate that film for the artist itself. So I think that's a real possibility. Compress and Repress from Challengers. So the Oscars have been doing this thing the last couple of years where they nominate a song that's kind of, it's not what you were thinking of. It's almost kind of what I've been saying about International, where they nominate something that you're not expecting, or it's on the lower end of the list, and you're just surprised by it. Examples of this, I think of like last year with Wajaje from the Killers of the Flower Moon movie. Then I think of the song from Everything Everywhere All at Once. Just weird stuff that you don't think the Oscars would go for, and then they end up doing. And I feel like that Compress Repress is that kind of weird pick this year. So I'm going to include it. And then at the number 5 spot, I should include the other Amelia Perez song, the El Mal. But am I really gonna leave out Diane Warren's song? I mean, she gets nominated every year, and I do mean like every fucking year. Would be very dumb to leave her out at this point in time. Honestly, I'm almost thinking of taking out Forbidden Road to put El Mal in there, but again, I'm just not quite sure. Greetings everybody, Jan Michael here, coming at you with a quick little update. It was just announced today, as of the time of this recording, that the song Forbidden Road has been disqualified from actually getting into the Oscars, so I will not actually be able to add it to my predictions like it was. Instead, I probably would just go with El Mal, because again, it just seemed like that the two Amelia Perez songs we're going to get in just was kind of struggling with what to really take out there, but now that Forbidden Road is gone, it's just easier to just put El Mal in there, and that's really all I got. Not that I'm passionate about any of these songs. This isn't me struggling to pick because I'm so passionate or these songs deserve to get in, but just because one of the Oscars is going to do. I'm really just trying to think from their perspective. So I think a lot of these are a possibility. I mean, man, it's just such a weak year. Can we just give it to Diane Warren? Let's just get it over with. This is one of those years. You just give it to Diane Warren, done deal. We don't have to think about it anymore. My other alternative is Harper and Will Go West. I would love to see that one get in just because that's actually one of the few songs I did like. But I think the Oscars might not quite go for it just because they have so many other interesting choices, if you will, that it's a small enough song that I think they may dismiss. But I don't know. I'm hoping for somewhat of a surprise, but regardless of what gets in, this isn't going to be my most fond category to look forward to. Sound. We did get the shortlist here as well. I'm not too concerned about a lot of these. Dune Part 2, Wicked, Amelia Perez, A Complete Unknown, Gladiator 2. I think those are already my 5. I don't think I've changed anything. I'll have to go back and see. My alts here are Blitz and Alien Romulus. Alien Romulus got into like a whole bunch of the shortlist categories. I don't think it's going to show up anywhere, but enough that I'm actually putting them into some of my alternatives. So there's that for you. Live action short film. So technically, I also got 3 of these titles right, which are the top 3 you see here. Anuja, Dovecote, and Crust. However, the Crust that I predicted was a completely different movie from the Crust that I do believe they're predicting. So maybe I'm cheating, but hey, I put in the title. So I'm technically sort of picking it and saying that, yeah, I got that right. I at least got 3. All right, look, in the grand scheme of things, live action short film has always been my weakest category, so I'm not too surprised that I did the worst here. But hey, I at least got 2. I think last year got 0, so I'm moving up in the world. Again, the other ones are just based off the titles. The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent, I'm Not a Robot. My alternatives are The Ice Cream Man and Edge of Space. Gonna start watching them soon, so I'll give you a full-on ranking or prediction next month of what I think is truly gonna get in. And then lastly of all, visual effects. I think we actually have our 5 here. I think this is kind of a done deal. Dune, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Better Man, Wicked, Mufasa. There's just nothing else on here that I'm feeling very passionate about. My alternates here are Alien Romulus and then Twisters, but again, they're just so far and distant that, I don't know, I think I'd be pretty surprised if these 5 didn't get in at this point in time. Though I was somewhat hoping that The Substance would make an appearance. Like, the critics were totally going in on The Substance winning this category. So I was like on the edge of my seat. I even had it in the predictions going, I'm totally going to predict it. But it didn't. I don't think the Oscars are going to go for it. That really was a pipe dream, but you gotta have dreams. You gotta have dreams. Anyways, those are my predictions for December. Holy crap, we're so close. God, time flies, man. And we've still got more on the way. I do believe we have the Golden Globes for the final Oscar prediction, so I'll probably end up waiting until that ceremony. I have to double check when the Critics Awards is. If it's before the actual final nominations of the Oscars, I'll definitely wait for that, unless it's like the day before. So we'll see. I'm gonna wait for as long as possible before I do my final predictions, but they will be the final nomination predictions. After that, I will give what I think would be the winners just kind of straight up. And then you'll have one final predictions, which is what I always do for my road to the Oscars, where you'll kind of have to just wait the day before the ceremony just to see what my final picks are. So we're getting there, guys. We're finally getting there. What a journey it's been. But it's not over yet, so don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, like always, stay safe out there and have a good one.